I see that you grew up in Pennsylvania. How did you end up going to Notre Dame? How did Penn State lose out on you?
Yeah, that was a tough decision, but I went to Catholic school my whole life. I went to Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament, which we were pretty much a small Notre Dame. We had the same uniforms and everything. And in high school, I went to Bishop McDevitt, which was pretty much a smaller Notre Dame as well. We patterned everything after them. And my parents started out, I could have went anywhere in the country, so they started out like, hey, we know we raised you right. We know you're going to make the right decision. And then it turned into, we're not going to let you make the wrong decision. You have a chance to go to Notre Dame. That's where you're going to school. So I don't think I had a choice.
Was there any other school that tempted you?
Oh, there was plenty of schools. And they love Joe Paterno. They have respect for him. I had Michigan, Tennessee, Florida, UCLA. Those were my other visits. And I had various other visits, unofficial visits that I went to as well. So there were other teams, and they were all appealing. Obviously, I couldn't lose out going to any of those programs. But Notre Dame just was one of those schools that my parents really felt strongly about. And when I took my visit there, I felt like it was the right place for me to go. And obviously, I didn't make the wrong decision because we won a national championship. Some of those guys are my best friends to this day. Rocket Ishmael. If I go to Dallas, if I go to Texas, I'm staying with Rocket. If he comes my way, which is now out here in the West Coast, in the Bay Area, but back a while ago was in Orlando, he would come stay with me, and that's just how we do it. If I go to Chicago, I'm staying with Pat Terrell. We're close to this day. Tony Rice, these are some of my best friends to this day.
Was it hard when you joined Notre Dame, getting used to the academic requirements there?
Not really, because our schools, the schools that I was brought up in, they were that way. So everything was kind of like that. I grew up with the nuns, man, and back then they would give it to you. They'd paddle you, they would smack you in the hands. They had those pointers, but they would stick you with if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So I kind of grew up with that kind of discipline academically. So I understood it, and I knew what I had to do going in. And I've always been a good student, so that wasn't a tough thing for me. Actually, it was tougher once I went from high school and like blowing the doors off for everybody and people trying to chase me. And once I got in the open field, just like there's no one there, to now breaking in the open and there are people, I still had company. And I'm like, wait, hold on, how'd you get down the field so quickly? Because the speed was there and we had so many great athletes, so I had to get adjusted to that. But once I adjusted to that and realized that these other guys are fast too, these other guys are great athletes, they were all great on their teams, their high schools as well, that I was able to take full advantage of going to a school like that and playing as well as I did.
I went to Catholic grade schools and high schools, and I think the nuns were tougher than the priests.
Much tougher. They were just much tougher, and they didn't play around. I was telling people some of the things. I tell my son, I have two boys, and one is 13, and the other one's 7. And I tell him some of the things we had to do, and I said, could you just imagine even sticking your nose in that corner? Stick your nose in that corner, put the chewing gum on your nose, and have the chewing gum touch the wall and touch your nose, and you cannot move out of that while everyone else is having recess and having fun. Try that one for a little bit. And that was one of that wasn't so bad, put it that way, compared to some of the other things that they had us do.
Did Coach Holtz recruit you personally?
Yes, he did. And my parents were very pleased with him. They were just taken by him. He's a great speaker. He taught me a lot of things. When I do public speaking now and motivational speaking, I use things that he taught us. But he's just so amazing in person when you talk to him, and the magic tricks he does and the jokes that he tells. And he's so witty and his mind is so sharp. They were just totally taken by him. And he came more than one time. He came to watch me play. He came to watch me. I was on the track meet. He came to see me then. He came on different occasions. So they really wanted me, and they really thought that I was a Notre Dame guy. Because obviously you have to be a student athlete. You have to have the the total package, and they felt like I did. So he definitely was a big part of the recruiting, and he himself did a lot of the recruiting.
What I never got was in the '88 season why he put you a wide receiver. I mean, was it he thought you could be the next Tim Brown, or what was going on there?
That's what it was. I don't think he understood how much I loved running back position. I grew up loving running backs. I love football, period, and I would always watch it. I was definitely a student of the game, but I always watched the running back position. That's the position I fell in love with. I wanted to be like Tony Dorsett. I wanted to be like Walter Payton. I wanted to be like Marcus Allen and all these guys. I didn't want to play wide receiver. It's just not something that I wanted to do, and it was something that I made sure people understood too, because I was one of those players that played so many different positions in high school because I had to, because we didn't have that many players like other schools have. So I had to play a lot of different positions so I could do a lot of things. And a lot of teams wanted me for either safety or wide receiver, quarterback. Oklahoma and Nebraska wanted me for quarterback, but I made it known that I definitely wanted to play running back, and I made that known to him as well. But I think that once Tim Brown won the Heisman and then he left, he thought that maybe that would entice me to say, you know, for the betterment of the team, let's do this. And that's actually what I did. I did it for the better of the team, what I thought would help us win. But I never really loved the position. I didn't have a love that I have for running back, and I think it showed once I went back to running back in college and then on to the pros to play running back.
Were you always number 32?
I was actually number 12. And I was number 12, and I started out with 44, actually. That was my favorite. Chuck Foreman, and those guys back in the day. That 44 was like the big hoss number, and then I was playing quarterback, so I was number 12. And even though I transferred from quarterback to running back, I still had that number in high school, and so every college that I went to, they had that on my jersey, and I liked the way it looked. So I was like, oh, yeah, I still have 12. I want 12. And then when I got to the pros, I was like, man, I want 12. And they were like, sorry, you can't have 12 as a running back. You have to have a 20 number or a 30 number. So they said, you know, you can't have 12. And 32 was an easy one for me. I mean, you're talking about O.J. Simpson, you're talking about Jim Brown, talking about Marcus Allen. So I was like, if I can't have 12, then I would love to have 32.
That '88 season, how hard was it when he suspended you, Coach Holtz, for that USC game?
Oh, that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with in my life because I love playing, number one, and I didn't particularly think it was fair. You know, I know I was late. We were all late. It was more than just the two of us that was late, but we were the oldest ones, but we were sophomores. It wasn't like we were seniors. We're sophomores, our first time in California. We really enjoyed being out there and having the sun and everything that goes with it. And we actually got lost. It was an honest mistake. We didn't mean to do it. We weren't trying to be malicious. We weren't out doing something that we shouldn't do. It wasn't like we got in trouble. We were just a little late. But I can tell you one thing. It taught me never to be late again. I can tell you that much. Because I have not been late since. And in the pros, I made sure I was on time all the time and even early. So it did teach me a lesson, and I did learn from it. And that's the way I look at it. And that's what I tell young people now. Just if you make a mistake or something happens like that, you can't live in the past. You just learn from it, and you have to move on.
As a freshman, was it difficult not being the starter?
When was that? When
a freshman at Notre Dame. When
I first got there.
Yeah,
when I first got there as a freshman, you know, I thought I could, but I also understood that there was a lot I had to learn. So I was fine with that part of it. I obviously knew talent-wise I could play, but there was things I had to learn. I had to get some maturity, and I think I did that. And when it was time for me to play, I think I did my job. So that's all that matters. You know, that you do your job when you get your chances. And I made it to the pros, which is what we all strive to do and all hope to be able to do.
I mean, that year you won the championship, you beat the number 1 team in Miami, the number 2 team in USC, number 3 team in West Virginia, and the number 9 team in Michigan. I mean, I don't think I ever saw a tougher schedule than that.
Yeah, and that was every year for us. And every year we were right in the running, because even the year after that, I felt like we won a championship, but they didn't give it to us because we beat then it was Colorado, when we beat Colorado in the Orange Bowl, and they didn't give it to us because we had the one loss to Miami, and Miami had one loss, so they beat us head to head, so they gave them the national championship. I thought that year we were just as good as the year before. We just slipped up against Miami, and we played them there as opposed to our place, and they were a great team as well. So, but we always came ready to play, and we had great players that really believed in each other. We were really close-knit bunch. And then also we had great coaches that prepared us for each game and had us ready for whoever we played. And we knew our game plan, we understood it, and we understood how we could win the game. And we went out there and we played just great. And, I mean, we had a great quarterback in Tony Rice, who was just like every game played out of this world, I believe. So, I mean, it was just incredible feeling to play with those guys, to have so many great players that we were playing with, and you didn't really know how great they were until everyone went to the pros. Pretty much everyone had a chance to go to the pros except for Tony Rice, which was, we didn't understand, but, I mean, I guess that's how it goes.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. You know, a guy that good, not to be able to play at the next level.
Yeah, he was amazing. And he was an
quarterback or elsewhere,
leader. Yeah, and he was an amazing leader for us, too. His leadership was just as important as his ability. And he had some great athletic ability. I mean, we used to play basketball, and we would just put on a show, a slam dunk contest and everything every time we played. So, just like I said, a great guy and still my friend to this day.
What was your?
And, I wish he had a chance to have that kind of success in the pro level, too.
What was your biggest game in college?
The biggest game I would have to say was the national championship game, and because I mean that's what you play for. That's what it's all about, and that's what you want to do is to play a national championship game. They're undefeated. We were West Virginia at the time. They were undefeated. We were undefeated. So it was just great to be able to play that game.
Was Coach Holtz more a motivator or a tactician or a combination?
I think he was everything. he really was. On the college level, I mean, I don't know on the pro level. I guess there were some questions, but on the college level, he prepared us as best anyone could prepare you in all facets. Like I said, we knew what we were doing. He could motivate you to run through a brick wall. I mean, that he knew exactly what to say at the right time to get you so pumped up and make us feel like we're going to win that game no matter who we're playing, and that we're totally prepared. There's not one more thing that we could do to get ready for the game. I just think he did a great job with that. Just like he's such a motivational speaker now, that's how he was in the locker room, and it was a pleasure being able to hear that for 4 years.
Then it had to be a dream come true to find out they were going to San Francisco 49ers because they were the team of the 80s.
Oh, man. Couldn't believe it. You know, I thought I was going the first round. There was a lot of teams that said they're going to pick me if I was still there on the board in the first round. And I can remember thinking, God, I can't believe I'm not getting picked. But then the second round comes around and I get picked by the 49ers. And I'm like, you know what? It's not all that bad because we're just the 49ers. And I was really excited about playing for that team. And then the fact that the next day after getting drafted by them, I'm there. And Joe Montana comes up to me and is like, what's up, Domer? And like, yo, you want to go? I couldn't even believe he was talking to me. I thought, no, he's talking past me. And I'm like, he's talking to me. And he's like, well, I'm not talking to you, Rook. You know, get on my face or something or sit down or something. But he totally was talking to me. And he said, man, you want to go out and hang out for a little bit, or you got something to do? And, of course, I was like, man, if I had something to do. I don't have anything to do anymore. Are you kidding me? Joe Montana, man, one of my heroes and just one of the greatest to ever watch play. And the fact he was so cool, he welcomed me so in such a great manner. He made me feel like I was part of the team from day one. It was just outstanding to be on that team, to learn from the guys that I learned from. You know, I got hurt my first year, and God, at the time I thought it was just the worst thing that could ever happen. But it ended up being a blessing in disguise because I had the chance to sit back, to learn from some of the greatest players ever, and to learn what it's like to be a professional, a true professional. I remember when I said to myself, and the first time I trained with those guys, I was training with Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, Roger Craig. All these guys were there before they went on the Plan B. Roger Craig did and Ronnie Lott, but they were still in the area and we were still training. And so we were training, we were running this hill, and I was thinking, how bad can it be, man? I trained with the best, you know. The Heisman Trophy winner, I was training with him, Tim Brown, so you can't tell me anything. Until I got on that hill, man, and they had me throwing up and everything. I mean, everything I ate that morning was all up in my throat. I just couldn't even believe it, that I had to go to a whole nother level. But I learned from them, and I got better, and I got smarter, and even more so, I learned the game, to understand where all the blitzes were coming from, where all my blocks are coming from. There was nothing on the field that I had to second guess myself for. By the time I started playing, I was totally ready to play. I had guys like Tom Rathman, who's the running back coach now for a reason, because he totally masters he mastered that system, and he's also a guy who's a total student of the game and taught me how to, even more so, because I already knew how to look at film, or at least I thought I did, but they taught me what I'm really looking at when I'm looking at the film, and how to really lift weights, and how to really take care of yourself and eat right. And all those things, I think, helped me have that longevity that I had in the league.
What was it like playing for Bill Walsh?
Man, well, he wasn't the coach at the time. It was George Seifert, but he was there, and he was still, and it was his system. You knew that, and you knew that he's the guru behind this whole thing. And it was just amazing. It was amazing playing for him. It was amazing playing for that coaching staff. And it was kind of funny to me because I had at Notre Dame seen the Bartolo on some of the buildings, but I didn't know what that really meant until I was drafted by the 49ers, and then I see it means excellence in everything you do. Everything we did full speed. Even in the pre-practice, when we go out there, we're running hard. We're going, you better spat up, you better tape up right and get ready because we're going. And we go in the locker room, and you go in that weight room, you go in there ready to lift some weights. You're not just going to go in there and talk and hang out and just have a good time. You're going to have a good time, but you're going to have a good time doing your work. And the same thing in the meeting rooms, everything, we did it in a classy way, and we did it like champions, and that's why we became the champions that we became.
I'm looking at your stats here in the postseason. It seems like you got even better than you were in the regular season. You have 5 touchdowns in a postseason game. You got 3 touchdowns in a Super Bowl. How did you do it?
I just felt good. I felt good. I was ready. Every game I was ready. And even the playoffs, it was like you knew it. You knew it by the way everyone else was. I thought it couldn't get any higher during the year, especially that Super Bowl year. I mean, we went like months. It was crazy, like almost like the whole half of the year without the ball touching the ground. No fumbles, snaps, no missed handoffs or miscues like that. Everything was so on point because we were focused on it like that, and you didn't want to be the guy to drop the ball, or you didn't want to be the guy to make the missed assignment or the mental error. So you prepared that much more. And then when the playoffs came and you just saw everybody else raise their game that much more and even their focus that much more, then you just automatically raised yours too, because you didn't want to be that guy to be that weak link pretty much. So I just would practice hard. I was focused on everything. I made sure I knew my assignments. And once you started playing in the game, then that athletic ability takes over, and it's my love for the game came out. And just I love the big stage. I've always been that way. In everything I do, I love the big stage. The more people, the better. My first touchdown in college was at the big house in Michigan, and I was scared to death at first. The first time I got the ball, I ran up in there, and nobody really knocked me down. I pretty much went down on my own because it was so fast and everybody's moving so quickly and the guys are so big. But then the second time I got the ball, I ran for a touchdown. So it's like, and after that, I was just like, I love this. I love the big show. I love the big games. The bigger the game, the more I want to play.
Is the build-up to the Super Bowl bigger than the game?
I tell you what, you definitely know from the time you get off of the plane, it's different. It's different. It's not just the climate, because it's normally in a nice place. It wasn't this past year in New York, but most of the time it's in a nice place and everything. But there's all the media right there. You see all the people that you've seen on TV. You see models, all kind of people there. So you know it's a big game, and it's all the build-up. But I swear, we were so prepared, and we were having so much fun with it. That's what I loved about Coach Seifert. He was like, he's serious about his game and preparation and all that. But if you prepare right, you do all the things you're supposed to do, he will let you have fun. And he let us have fun. William Floyd, he said, that's your guy. You take him under your wing. You have him. He said, because I'm not dealing with another guy who has all that flamboyancy and everything, because he was kind of like how I was when I first came out. And, before he had to reel me in a little bit. And so I had him, and we just had so much fun during that week. And the whole thing was, the best thing about it was they let us have fun the first three days. Then after that, it was like, okay, it's time to focus. No more worrying about tickets. No more worrying about what everyone else is doing and that your family's in town and all this other stuff. It's time to focus on the game. We totally understood why we were there. We were there to win a football game. At the end of the day, it didn't matter how much fun we had or what we did or how many times we got interviewed if we lose the game. The most important thing was to win that game. And we focused. We were so focused on that game that after a certain point, we didn't even notice all the things that happened around and all the buildup of the game. We were just focused on the game itself.
How do you score 3 touchdowns in a Super Bowl and you're not going to Disney World? Your quarterback, Steve Young, is.
Because he threw for 6. That's why. I mean, he did a great job, and we were all proud of him, because when I first got there, it was clearly Joe's team. Joe was the man, and Steve, it was like there's no way he could live up to Joe. And even when Joe went to another team, and I had nothing to do with that, or even the understanding of how they did that, if they traded them or what they did. But all we knew was now Steve was the guy, and we had to roll with Steve. And there was mixed emotions about that. There were clearly mixed emotions about that. I wanted to even play with with Joe, because I had never got a chance to play with him. But now we're playing with Steve. And so he had a lot that he was carrying at every practice, because if he made any mistakes, it was like, see, he's not Joe. He's not Joe. And there was no way he's going to be Joe. He wasn't Joe. But he became a great player. He became Steve Young, the great quarterback. And that year, he was unstoppable. And he was just, whether he was running the ball, some of the plays he made when he had to just leave the pocket and make a play with his feet and breaking tackles, it was amazing. He had a great year. And they all culminated in that game. He was just on point. And he deserved it. You can't take anything away from him. He deserved it. But I think that I had a great game too, and I deserved something for it too. So I was pretty. It's something I will always be proud of.
Well, he could have taken you along.
Yeah, that'd have been cool. Definitely didn't want to end up at another team.
So. Was George Seifert the man that made that transition possible, or was it Walsh orchestrating that behind the scenes, or as far as the quarterbacks went?
I think it was both of them. It was also Mike Shanahan, who was the offensive coordinator at the time. And they spent a lot of time with him. And he studied hard. He worked hard. He was one of the first people out there on the football field. He was one of the last to leave. So he put in the work, and he put in the effort, and he wanted to overtake that position, and he took on that responsibility of, I'm going to be the team leader. I'm going to show you guys that I can do this and win your allegiance, so to speak. And he did. And he actually did that, and people started saying, man, hey, he could be a great quarterback too. And he turned into one, and obviously he's in the Hall of Fame now. So, you know, he obviously did a great job for us, and I don't know if we win that if he wasn't there. I mean, obviously if Joe was there, we already know what Joe can do, but without Joe or Steve, I don't know.
Was it a tough decision to go to Philadelphia and leave San Francisco?
See, that when people say a decision, I didn't have a decision. Yeah, of course, I didn't want to leave the champions and the guys who drafted me, and I just won a Super Bowl with. But I tried to get the deal done before the season was even over, even before that season started. But they didn't want to deal with it at that time, and I understood that, but wanted to get it done. And then when my agent told me that they were going to put a tag on me, I was thinking, oh, okay, they're going to make me franchise, which would still leave me as a 49er. I wouldn't have any decisions or anything to make or to do because I would automatically get paid what the percentage of the top five, which I would have been very happy with at the time, and stay with the team that I loved and wanted to play for. But what happened was they made me the transition player. I didn't even understand what that was, but when my agent explained it to me and what that meant is that I have to shop myself to other teams, and then the 49ers will have the first right of refusal. So it was a way to, I guess, get my market value up, and the 49ers would match it, and then I would go back to the Niners, and the Niners would see that there are other teams that want me. So one of the teams that I went to, one of the first teams was Philadelphia, and Ray Rhodes was there. He was our defensive coordinator at the Niners, and when he went there as a head coach, I guess he wanted me to come there. Obviously, thought I could help his team, which I did. But at the time, I just wanted to shop myself to these teams and just see what my market value actually is out there and prove it, so to speak, to the 49ers. And when they gave me a contract and I went back to the Niners, I talked to Coach Seifert, and he said, you know, do you really want to be a 49er? And I was like, of course. And he was like, okay. He's like, don't worry, we're going to, you know, we'll match it, and you'll stay a 49er. You know, I love you as a player and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, it's all good. But then when they didn't match, I couldn't believe it. They didn't match it. So that left me as the Philadelphia Eagles. So it wasn't a decision I made. And, I mean, one of the good things is that it was home for me. I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So, you know, I just looked at it as, well, maybe I can make them better, and hopefully we could do something special too as a team. But in no way at that time did I want to leave the 49ers. If that's out there and people think that, I don't like that being out there, because that just wasn't the case at all.
Because, I mean, there was the organization to play for. It was like a country club mentality, because DiBartolo treated you guys like kings.
Yeah, he definitely did. He still does. I mean, we have a really good rapport now. I go to all his functions and all that, and we just still have a good time. You can tell he actually loved he loved that role and relished that role of being the owner, but he also appreciated the players. And I learned that going to other places that not everywhere is like that, the way it was there, and how much he was a part of everything and really made himself a part of the team. We felt like he was one of the guys. I mean, he was really, really cool, and that's why we still have a relationship to this day.
I would think when all that went down and the 49ers say, see you later, that you would have hurt feelings. Is that an accurate description?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely at the time I was hurt. I mean, really, I was hurt, and I couldn't believe it. But then I was like, okay, the only thing I can do is go on to the next team and play as great as I can and show what I can do. And I even thought then maybe I could end up back on the 49ers. Who knows? I had a 3-year deal in Philadelphia, and if for some reason I didn't stay there, maybe I could go back. So, I mean, that's how we looked at it. That's how my agent put it to me. And all we can do, man, we're young at the time looking back. I mean, shoot, there probably is some different thing I could have done, but at the time that was what I was given. That's what I understood. That's what made sense to me. That's what I thought I had to do. And at no time did I think that I wouldn't be a 49er the following season.
Is the Hall of Fame going to get it right this year and put 3 Notre Dame players in so you guys could overtake USC for the most guys? Put you in, Jerome Bettis, and put in Tim Brown, and then we'll put in Eddie DiBartolo too in the contributor category.
Yes, I think that would be the right thing to do. I think it would be awesome. I think that we all definitely deserve it. And I don't know what criteria you're looking at if you don't see us as being candidates for that. I mean, I know it myself. I mean, what is the criteria? Is it longevity? I played for 11 years. Is it Pro Bowls? I have 5, and I have 3 All-Pros. And what is it? Records? I have 3 in the Super Bowl, 5 in the playoff game, as you have already noted. I don't know what else I can do. I have over 10,000 yards rushing, even more if you put it together, because I was an all-purpose back who played every down. Even the backs now don't play every down. So even when you look at my carries, I have 4 yards of carry. I'm like, come on, 4 yards of carry, and I stayed in on 4th downs and 3rd down. So there were times when just getting 1 yard and just getting 2 yards was a great play. So I'm staying in for those downs where a lot of guys come out on those downs, so they're not getting those 1 yard, 2 yard gains.
Plus, you had 2 other guys on offense. John Taylor getting 1,000 yards. You get Jerry Rice getting 1,500 every year, and you had Steve Young running and doing all that too. So I mean, a lot of times you might have been the 3rd, 4th option.
Definitely, and I've never played on a team where we were run first, pass second. It was always the West Coast offense, which everyone knows is pass first, and you pass to set up the run instead of running to set up the pass and doing the play action passing. So, and I'm fine with that, but it's just like, give me my just due for what I did and how I changed the game for running backs, wanting to catch the ball out of the backfield, wanting to run down the field and catch the ball. No backs were going down the field catching the ball that I had seen, and doing the things that I was doing and blocking. So, I mean, it's like I don't like to toot my own horn or anything like that, but some of these things have to be said. I mean, it's like I don't understand.
Did you enjoy running the ball or catching the ball more?
I wanted to do. I love running the ball because that's what I grew up watching, other running backs running the ball. But I was in the mentality at the time that I truly didn't care. As long as I was helping my team, as long as I was out there making plays and showing what I can do with my worth to my team, I was happy.
What was the difference between playing in San Francisco, Philly, and Seattle?
Well, besides the fact that I was the young pup with the 49ers, and when I got to the Eagles, I had started. I went through some maturity there, but I started to mature more there, and I was the elder statesman at the Seahawks. It's just the way, like you said, the way they went about things, and they expected to win. The 49ers expected to win. They expected to do well. When I got to the Eagles, it was more like, well, I hope we do well this year. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not used to that. I'm used to winning. I won a championship in high school, college. I just won a Super Bowl. I'm not used to losing, so I don't expect to lose. I expect to win. And it was like trying to get some of the people, because some of the people who did have that winning mentality, but for the most part, it wasn't like everybody. Whereas, like, as a whole, everyone had it with the 49ers. I had to kind of instill it in some of the guys there at the Eagles and also at the Seahawks when I went there.
You got to see Ray Rhodes mature, I will assume, during your 3 seasons with Philadelphia, and then you got to play for Mike Holmgren. What were those guys like?
Well, I already knew those guys. I knew they were great coaches, and they did a great job. I mean, Ray, he was one of my favorite coaches, actually, and I loved playing for him. He's another guy who's like a player's coach. He's a guy that's going to sit down and talk with you. He's going to have fun with you. He's going to as long as you're doing your job and you're putting in the work like you're supposed to, he's going to have fun with you and allow you to be loose and to play your game. And I like that about him. And we did well. I mean, we went to the playoffs my first 2 years there, and we just missed it my last year there. So I mean, before I got there, we were 4-12. I think after we left, we were 1-15. So I mean, it's obviously that we did pretty good while I was there, and we played well. And I wouldn't. Now that I look back on it and stuff, I'm proud of what I was able to do, but I also had fun playing on all those teams. I had a chance to play with some great players. And playing with Randall Cunningham, I would have never had a chance to play with him, play with Warren Moon. And, I mean, I just played with some great players, even besides playing with the great ones at the 49ers. So I look at it as it was a learning experience. I learned each place I was. I became a better person, a better player, and I don't think I would be the father, the husband, or the humanitarian that I am today had I not played with those three teams the way it went. I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, I would have loved to have just had a long career with the 49ers and be the all-time leading rusher for the 49ers and all that kind of stuff, but I guess it wasn't meant to be.
I'm looking at your website here, rickywaters.com. How do you have time to do all this? You've got broadcasting, you've got camps, speaking engagements, and you got a son, it looks like, who's not only a great athlete, he's a singer.
Oh, he's amazing. He plays, obviously I'm biased, but man, he plays the piano, he plays the guitar, the ukulele, he plays the bass. He's starting with the drums now a little bit, so he's just something else, and he's just got this golden voice. And people always asking me, man, where does that come from? I'm like, I don't know. It didn't come from me. It didn't come from my wife. So this is something that he has. And we share that love of music. I've always loved music. I've always had a studio, and I've always had musicians come in and play and make songs and do stuff like that. And so he's always been around that. He actually knows me more for that than even playing, because he's seen some of the tapes, but he doesn't really get into it. Neither one of my sons are really into the football thing, and so I'm fine with that. I'm like, do you and do your own thing. He's a total scholar. He likes technology and building robots and all that kind of stuff, and so I'm all for it, because it's an amazing ride for me, and I'm learning a lot from that. But as far as myself, those are things I love to do. I love to teach. I love to, I have I did my golf tournament. I did my football camps and all that. It's all part of giving back for me. And the same thing with motivational speeches and all that kind of stuff. It's just giving back for me. I get a lot out of it. I love the fact that I can go and see these kids who probably never even saw me play. I'm sure their dads know, their uncles and everybody, and maybe their moms, but not them. But they stand at attention. They're listening to me. Every word that comes out of my mouth, they're hanging on it. I mean, it feels good that I can. So obviously, you want to say the right things. You want to make sure that you're teaching them the right things. But it's a lot of fun for me going out there and doing those things and helping the people that I'm able to help, along with my wife, helping even retired players. It's just like a great thing to see, because a lot of players are out there and they're hurting, and a lot of things are going on with them that people don't know. They just think that all of us ride off into the sunset. But that's not the case for many of us. We're injured severely, and we're not doing too well after it's over. So we've been able to help them. We mentor children as well. So I'm very happy and blessed. I've had a blessed life. God has blessed me a lot. I have a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, and so that's just my way of giving back.
And you're a smart guy. You married a lawyer.
Yes, I married up. That's for sure. And she takes care of me, and that's how it started. She actually started taking care of me after it was over and helped me get all my life together and make sure all my ducks were in a row. And so it was a great thing. And that's when people start saying, "Man, how are you still doing so well? How are you able to, still drive the cars you drive or whatever, or live in the house you live in and all that kind of stuff?" And I said, "Man, my wife." So they're like, "Man, I want to talk to your wife. I want to help me." So that's how I started. And then she made a business of it. And I told them, she's a lawyer, so they knew that they could trust her and that everything would be confidential. And just the fact that I was a part of it, so they knew that I would never look down on anybody, because I know the struggles that we go through, but I just want to help. And just being able to help, it has been so great. And there are guys that I've been able to bond with that I played against in the league and guys that I never really knew in the league. But we're all in this thing together. I feel like it's one big fraternity. And so I've been able to bond with guys this way, and I just think it's been great.
Is there a little disappointment that the NFL doesn't take care of its former players better than it does?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been very well documented, and everyone is kind of seeing what has been going on. But one good thing I can say is the awareness. With the awareness comes change. A lot of times in life, when you look, especially back at history, it took the awareness first because people didn't even see it. They didn't even notice it. But once you have that awareness out there, you say, wow, this is what happens to players after they finish playing. This is what's going on with them. They need help. At least as far as medical help. I mean, at least that. I mean, because this is how we got injured. This is how we got beat up like that. It's from playing football. We didn't do it in a motorcycle accident or in a car or something. It was on the football field that we became damaged, and many of us to the point that we can't work. And if we work, we won't be able to keep it up. We might be able to do it for like a week or two, but we can't keep it going like the average person can, and mentally or physically keep it going. So I think that obviously we need help. So the only place we can go is to our employers.
But I'll tell you one thing, though, the 49ers and the Raiders, and it seems like the Cowboys and Packers, those organizations tend to take care of their former players.
Well, I tell you what, the 49ers, I'm back out on the West Coast. I feel so much at home. They welcome me with open arms. I can go to the stadium whenever I want. I can go watch practice. I can go to the games. I sit in the luxury box. I go down on the field. It's pretty much carte blanche, and it makes me want to do things for them too. It makes me want to help them with the outreach. Those are things I love to do anyway. I love my fans. I love talking to the young players. I love mentoring those guys as well. They can learn from mistakes that I made, why I make the same mistakes. So it's just great that they're like that, and they're like that with most of the people that I see. The first game at Levi Stadium, we're out there, and Joe's out there, and Terry's out there, and Ronnie Lott's out there, and we're all out there. We're all of us. Darryl Pollard's out there. I mean, you just name it. The older guys, the younger guys, Keena Turner, Eric Wright, we're all out there. And it's just a great feeling to see those guys and to see that everyone is welcome back the way they are. And I think it's very important.
As a motivational speaker, you speak to the kids who are like you, who are adopted.
Yes.
What's that experience like, and how much can you impact their lives?
And also kids who are in foster care, kids who are at risk, the kids that really need it. And more than just speaking to them, because anyone, I feel like, can just go speak to them and say a few good things and, make sure you study and make sure you mind your manners and all that kind of stuff that you might want to say. But the most important thing is to stay in their life, and that's what I always try to do. I talk to them, but then I also make myself open to them so that they can reach out to me. They know they can call me. They know they can ask me if they have questions. When I take my kids to the fair or to the amusement parks or whatever, I'm taking 5 or 6 of them. I'm taking 10, 20. At my house for Christmas, I've had up to 80 at my house for Christmas Eve. And I've had everyone in the neighborhood getting involved and bringing presents and bringing bikes and all the stuff that they bring, iPads. I mean, it's pretty nice, the things that they bring for these young people, so that they can feel like obviously someone cares about them, because someone does, and that they're important to us and in our society. And those are the things that brings me a lot of joy. But it also helps me, it helps my wife, but it also helps my kids, because then they can see that they have it. First of all, they have it pretty good, but then also they can learn from some of these guys. A lot of them are older than they are, and they sit there and talk to them about certain things that they're going through and everything, and they learn, so that they're not living in some bubble and not understanding the real world and how it's made up, and the struggles that people are going through. And then they have more of a respect for other people. They don't laugh at people. They don't look down on people. They don't treat people, in a malicious, mild-mannered way. And I think that that's because they've grown up with these kids looking at these other kids as their brothers, as their sisters, and as somebody who they respect just as much as they respect us.
So at the Waters home, does like a Jerry Rice or a Joe Montana or Steve Young stop by, or just go, let's go play golf this afternoon?
Oh yeah, well I know that's going to happen now that I'm back. I mean, that wasn't happening because I wasn't here, but where I was, it was Ken Griffey Jr. It was it was guys that were there living in that area that we would hang out like that. But I know that will happen here because I love to play golf. Jerry loves to play golf. And now that I'm back, we exchange numbers and all that. So I know that's going to happen. But I'm still trying to get settled in. I just finished moving. We've been unpacking and moving and doing that thing for like 3 days, actually 4 days now.
You moved back to be closer to Pebble Beach. Be honest.
Well, I was in Orlando, so I was close to a lot of beaches there too. But man, you just can't beat this weather out here. My wife is actually from here. She grew up in Lafayette, and she went to school in Santa Clara, her undergraduate, before she went to New York Law School. So, and she has family out here, and it's just a great feeling for me to be back here. Like I said, I feel like this is home for me. I lived here for 12 years out of my life. I have been accepted as one of their sons. I mean, I feel like everywhere I go, people show me that they care about me. They really appreciate what I did, but at the same time, they give me my space, and they understand that I'm just like everybody else. Just want to have fun. I'm working with my kids or something. I do a lot with them in the parks and different stuff like that. And they see me, they just come and say hello, and they let me know that they appreciate what I did for their team and for the city and all that. And that's it. And it's just good. I might take a few selfies, do a few autographs or whatever with some people, but that's all good. I love that, actually. I love being able to make someone's day that way. And just think about it, man. If you could just go and sign your name somewhere, or just take a picture with somebody and make their day, make their week, make their who knows what, and make them feel like they can go on and do some things and give them a word of encouragement. I mean, that's an easy price to pay, I think, to make somebody's day, to make them feel well.
I predict we're going to see you in August in Canton going in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that would be awesome, man, because I would really love it. I talk to all the guys anyway who are already in there, and they all say, "Man, you should be in there. You got to be in there. They need to put you in there." So I love that I get that, and everywhere I go, everyone's like, "You should be in the Hall of Fame." And there were times that I'm overseas, and someone comes up, "Hey, Ricky Waters." At first, I thought they wasn't talking to me. I'm like, they said, I said, "Wait a minute." They said my name, and they come up and say, "Oh, how are you?" and everything. Great player, and they just tell me, you should be in the Hall of Fame. So I love that part of it, but I know that if they feel that way, whoever's judging this thing, they have to see the same things and understand that I should be in there.
I have a question. What's it like to go back?
Excuse me?
Or you're probably older than some of the professors you had.
Yes, when I went back to school.
Yeah.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit, but yeah. That was outstanding. That was definitely a highlight for me. I didn't know how it would be because I hadn't played in so long. I mean, I hadn't gone to school in so long, hadn't been in a classroom in so long. But it was so refreshing and so enriching to me. I took my family. They loved it. My kids were just riding around the campus and just treated like kings out there, so they just loved it. And the professors were there working with them in the music department. Were working with them on the guitar and the piano and singing lessons. So they had nothing stopped. It was just great for them. But for me, I learned so much. It just shows that you can always learn and you can always get better and you can always do something to improve yourself. And I had so much fun sitting in those classrooms, sitting up front, where normally I'd be in the middle or in the back. Now I was right up front. I'm talking to the professors, like you said. We're talking after class or whatever. Hey, let's get a coffee or whatever and talk about this situation or whatever is going on or whatever. I had 10-page papers and and all kind of stuff that I had to do, and I had to read 10 books in this one class, and they're all the serious books, Geoffrey Chaucer and the Canterbury Tales and Dante's Inferno, and those are not even the easiest to read. Most had to read them. And just the fact that I was able to read them now, my son wants to read them now. I have all those books. He's starting to read them, and he loves them. So it's like, couldn't have been a better situation for me. I had 3 classes. That's a load for the summertime. I ended up getting 2 A's and a B+. It was just really refreshing. I didn't miss a class. I was on time, of course. I'm going to be on time. So it was just a great experience. And definitely, I would tell other guys that they have the chance to go back if they haven't finished. Go back and do it if you can, because it's just a great experience, and it sets such a good tone for your kids. And all the kids that I mentor, they know it as well. And so it's not just me preaching to them. You have to get your degree and you have to do your studies and all that stuff. I put myself in the same position you're in, and I did it. And I had to study, and it was tough. I still had to be the father. That didn't change. I still had all my responsibilities in the house. They didn't change, but I was able to get it done. So I'm proud of myself, too. That's the other part. You can be proud. There's nothing wrong with being proud of something that you do, especially when you put that work in.
So they weren't looking to see if you had any eligibility remaining to play football or baseball?
Oh, yeah, they talked about it, but I went out and talked to them. I gave them a little speech and a little pep talk to the running backs, and I'm taking some of them under my wing and everything. So it's really cool. And it was good to see the young people. And for them to kind of not know at first, and they would treat me just like another guy. It was fun for a minute until they finally realized, wait a minute, how come cameras are coming here? How come people are filming you coming into to the school and coming out of the classroom? And wait, something's going on. Then they see me on TV and I'm being interviewed, and they're like, wait a minute, he's in my class. Oh my God, that's Ricky Waters. And then it changed a little bit, but it still was cool because it started out with them just being cool with me because I'm a cool guy. I always like that. But it was good to be able to mentor them a little bit. They asked me, a bunch of questions that I could answer for them and inspire them, which was really good.